From the very beginning, I think that Zach and Fatima see a imperfect person perfectly. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Essence of Lex. Thank you for joining me again on my Bloom journey. And if you clicked on these videos because you're interested in my review and my recap of Zatima Season 2, Episode 7, titled Mind Over Matter. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. Picking up where we left off on episode 6, Fatima running up the stairs because she thought Zach was up there with the woman, but he wasn't. She really just caught him, with the side chick toy that she bought him. And Fatima thought it was funny, y'all. She was cracking up here. I thought it was funny because he swore up and down that he wasn't going to use that toy, only for him to use that toy, 48 hours later? Was crazy. He must have really been enjoying that sex toy, because I was wondering, so he did not hear her come through the door and he didn't hear her on the phone with Angela? So Fatima is continuing cracking up. So she tell him she gonna let him finish, and she go back downstairs because Angela was calling her. Angela was finna pull up, I guess, if Zach was up there with the woman. But nonetheless, Fatima told Angela that no, he wasn't up there with the woman. And she didn't reveal that he was up there with a sex toy either, but she basically just let her know, like, everything is good, no need to come over type thing. Fatima go back upstairs or whatever, and Zach tell Fatima that, you think this is funny. I'm really was just in here trying to take care of myself because my fiance don't want to. And Fatima tell him, you think I really want to have sex with you with the way that you've been acting? So I'm going to pause right there with Zach and Fatima, because I think that, just what they said to each other in those two sentences to each other, I think brings up, two questions that are great for a discussion. So, as always, I'm going to ask the questions, give my viewpoint, but make sure y'all comment down below what you think. So the first question is, when you are having issues or problems with your spouse, your partner, or whoever, are you still in the mood to have sex with them? Like, can you put aside, whatever it is y'all going through to still be able to have sex with them? Like, I'm not talking about no small petty stuff, because sometimes, we go through spats in relationships or whatever, where it's small, it's petty, it's not that serious. And sometimes you having sex really resolve the small petty issue or the small petty argument that you guys are having. Sometimes you just need to have sex, and that, essentially, not every case, but sometimes it'll fix itself. So I'm not talking about anything that's like small petty type argument or whatever. I'm talking about some real problems that is causing havoc in your relationship. Like, if you're going through that point or that time in your relationship where, like, you are considering, like, is this something that you still want or not? Like, would you still be in the mood to have sex? And to answer that from my perspective, I guess it really just depends on the situation. And I guess it really just depends on, from my perspective, who is at fault. Like, if I'm at fault, I think, I probably would still want to have sex. But if I feel like the other person is at fault, depending on what it is, I might still want to have sex, but I'm going to withhold it because I don't think that they deserve it. So it might be something that, yes, we're going through it, we're having our problems, we're having our issues, or whatever the case may be. And having sex with you, or having sex, shall I say, with my partner, might be something that I really want to do, and might be something that I really need. But if I feel like whatever we going through is your fault, or whatever we going through, is having me to feel a certain way, and it's having me to feel like you don't deserve it, then I'm going to withhold it from you. So that's my honest opinion. So let me know down below what's your thoughts, what's your perspective on that question. Now, follow-up question to that, getting back on track to talk about Zach and Fatima's situation. Is Fatima wrong for telling Zach that he needs to basically pace himself? I know I already talked about this, and then I already gave my viewpoint on this, but I wanted to revisit, that question for just a second. From Zach's perspective, he feels like ever since he put a ring on her finger, and ever since basically she kind of got him, in a sense, he feels like she's changing. A part of that changing from Zach's perspective is, them not having sex as much as they used to. Again, the way he's handling the whole situation regarding, Fatima telling him to pace himself, I think is really immature. Whether they in the good space or a bad space, I really think it's unrealistic for them to have sex 4 and 5 times every day, back to back to back. Y'all let me know what y'all think down below. So Zach went to talk to Tony at the barbershop. He wanted some advice. So he started telling Tony, everything that's been going on with him and Fatima or whatever. So he starts off with the story by telling Tony that Fatima haven't been giving him none. That's his perspective, and I'm like, why is he acting like it's been weeks? I don't even think it's been 1 full week since that shower scene and since she told him that he basically needs to pace himself. So I just don't understand why he's acting like it's been weeks since they did it, or is she just is holding out for just to be holding out. But he continued, to tell Tony what's going on or whatever. He told him about, him coming out of Deja Place hard as a rock. He mentioned Fatima getting out of an Uber with a man and all that. We know what happened. Tony didn't know what happened. So Zach filled him in. And the advice Tony gave him, I don't think it was bad. Basically telling him, like, just to take some time and think about what it is that you truly want. Basically telling him Zach needs to be true to himself. Being true to himself, whether that includes Fatima or not, that ultimately is a decision he has to make. And ultimately, that is a decision that Zach is going to have to make, and he's going to have to stand on it. Stand on it in every way possible. If he's going to continue to want to be with Fatima and in the whole nine, he's going to have to stand on it. Stand on it and go 10 toes. And I'm not going to say go 10 toes behind her, because we know they're going to go 10 toes behind each other. We know that for a fact. I'm saying more so of the aspect of the relationship, more so. Like, stop letting people disrespect her. If this is who you want to be with, this is who you want to marry, the people around you are going to have to support that, or they're going to have to at least respect that. And if they can't, then they got to jump ship. As I said before, Nathan and Tony have to get on track with the man that Zach is trying to become and that he's working on becoming. If they can't get on board with that, then their friendship is over. He can love him from a distance, but if they can't get on board with the man that he is becoming and trying to become and want to become, he have to cut ties with them, period. He had this conversation with Tony or whatever, and then he went outside the shop, and kind of had his conversation with Mr. Tyrone. Now, Mr. Tyrone, I don't know how to say it. Mr. Tyrone, I guess you could say, is kind of like a refreshing character. He's refreshing. At least to me, I think he's a refreshing character. Like, with all the drama that's going on, it's nice to have Mr. Tyrone who can, make jokes with the fellas and whatever, but also offer some sound advice. He told Zach that Fatima is a good girl, basically. And Zach told him, you don't even know her. And he said, I don't know her, but I hear them talking about her. And I also hear how they want to break it all up. He basically was telling Zach that, he needs to be careful who he gets advice from. I.e. Nathan and Tony. And it's really Nathan. Sometimes Tony, he plays on that fine line where sometimes you don't know which side he gonna land on, but it's really Nathan. Fatima went to see Dr. Reed to see if he can counsel Zach against all of our better judgment, against all of our advice. She still went and seen Dr. Reed. She goes to Dr. Reed's office, and of course Paul is there. They chit chat or whatever, and to me it's no coincidence that Paul is there. How he knew what day Fatima was popping up beats me. But he was there nonetheless, and to me, I'm side-eyeing him and Dr. Reed. So Fatima, basically thanked Paul again for his recommendation and basically apologizes for Zach, hitting him. So Paul, trying to play the concerned man role or whatever the case may be, and he gives, Fatima his number. Fatima give it back. Not interested. I love how firm Fatima is in that, and how regardless of what's going on with her and Zach, she stand firm and she stand 10 toes behind her being in a relationship with Zach. Like I said earlier, I'm not talking about, stand 10 toes behind each other, because they're going to do that regardless. As far as the relationship, Fatima respects the fact that she's in a relationship. She know Paul doesn't just want to be her friend, so why would she take the number? It's pointless. There's no benefit to that. So I've always loved that she could stand 10 toes behind her being in a relationship, regardless of what they have going on. Zach needs to take some lessons. He definitely needs to take some lessons. Dr. Reed and Paul a little too close for me, y'all. You know, Paul built Dr. Reed's house, apparently. It gives off that they maybe not close friends, but they are friends, and that they do talk and they do have conversations and whatever the case may be. So on that aspect alone, I wasn't really, I guess I was side-eyeing Dr. Reed. You know, because even when he walked into the office with Fatima, he was like, that's a good man right there. It's like he was advocating for Paul. And I didn't like that. I did not like that, because to me, how can you be in, I guess to me, how can you be an effective counsel if you are advocating for a man that clearly wants to shoot his shot with me? I guess, if that makes sense. So I didn't think the conversation was going to be beneficial, but, you know, it turned out to be beneficial. I think, you know, he said some good stuff. You know, one of the things that he said that I wanted to mention was, he said when a person is not whole, they will seek out for a partner for things that they want and not need. Something of that. I probably just paraphrase that, but basically, you know, sometimes we go after, when we are not whole, we go after what we want and not what we need. And he said reason being, or, you know, different, but for the most part, it goes back to your childhood and, you know, your parental relationships. I also loved how they had in the episode, you know how when you are going to a therapist and they have their little notebook or whatever, and they keep jotting down notes, it seems like every time you say something. I love that they had that in the scene, as to where, you know, every time he wrote something down, Fatima was like, what you writing, like, you know, anxious in a sense. Dr. Reed agreed to counsel Zach, you know, by the end of his initial meeting with Fatima. You know, he agreed to counsel Zach. So Fatima and Angela done came up with some plan to how they're going to get Dr. Reed, Bryce, Zach, Angela, and Fatima all at the same dinner table. It sounds crazy, right? It sounds like a disaster. She basically doesn't want Zach to know that she's inviting basically a therapist over, you know. So she and Angela decide that Angela will call Dr. Reed and invite him over for dinner, and he can talk to Bryce and Zach, I guess, to work on Bryce and Zach, you know, the situation that they got going on. Zach goes to work where we have Bryce and Shady Valerie, and they are there waiting on Zach to, you know, basically talk about a deal that they are wanting to do. A deal they believe is going to double or whatever. But we all know that Zach is not feeling Bryce right now. We know that. But also, to me, something about the deal didn't sound right to me. You know, it was just something off with the deal. And that could just be my skeptical mind anyway. Always thinking that, you know, I'm missing something, or something is there and it's not being said. But what stood out to me was, I think Bryce said he could put in 1 million and Zach can put in 2. And I was like, I think at the start of this, when they started Rise, you know, it was supposed to be 50-50 from my understanding and from what I can remember. So why do Zach have to put in more than Bryce? So that stood out to me. And like I said, it really could be nothing, and I'm making something out of nothing. But in general, anyway, that type of deal and that type of money is not something you want to decide off the fly. Just because you standing here in my face and you're pressuring me, that's not going to make me give you $2 million. No, I need to think about it. I need to research it. Like, this is not something I'm just finna to make a decision on. We'll see how it plays out. All right, we're going to end this episode with Nathan and Tony. They come and see Zach while he at the office or whatever. Nathan being Nathan, you know, still blaming Fatima for his antics. So now he is trying to seek out revenge. Like Zach said, you know, in the episode, it seems as if he's trying to get his revenge. And I just don't understand why he needs to get revenge. So he brings up the dating profile again. His dating profile is not even a picture of him, but he is so convinced that this picture of Fatima is actually her profile. I don't get it. You know, so Nathan is talking to this Fatima that's on the dating profile. We all know that it's not Fatima, but, you know, he's convinced that it's her. So he's talking to this Fatima through the dating profile or whatever, and they agreed to meet at the law firm, you know, in the parking lot. Ultimately, Nathan don't drag Tony into it, and now they don't drag Zach until they mess. So they got in his head. I guess that's why it's called mind over matter, huh? Because Zach kept telling them that wasn't her. He was so sure that it wasn't her, as he should be. But he don't let them talk him into going down to that parking lot, y'all. Like I said, like the Three Stooges. That's all I have for episode 7. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, if you do not follow me on Twitter, go ahead and follow me at Essence of Lex. Well, it's not Twitter now. It's X. Go follow me on X at Essence of Lex. Yeah, I don't like that. That's going to always be Twitter to me. You know, I am not pushing out these reviews and recaps in a very consistent manner. But I also do live tweet, you know, weekly. I'll see y'all in the next video.